Welcome inside the parlor, Holy Trinity Show headquarters here in British Columbia, Canada, for another installment of my all-time influential Villans series made entirely possible by 24/7 Services. The company that Paul Handsaker founded and built not only supports me and my channel, but also the Villa alumni. And that's because young Paul, his dad Ron, and other family members were there in Rotterdam in 1982 to witness Aston Villa's greatest triumph live and in person. And obviously, that made quite an impression on young Paul. So this is our little pet project because none of our alumni are getting any younger, but the stories never get old. Now, if you have a little pet project, say around the house or office, a refurbishment, repair, replacement, even renovation, when you choose 24/7 Services, you are supporting this channel, and you are also getting the highest quality of work and at a very fair price. This series would not have been possible without the Sutton Sports and Social Club in the royal town of Sutton Coldfield. Yes, a perfect place for a pint, some pool, maybe a private party or function. You know, they've had a renovation lately. Go watch the football, debate the Villa. But most importantly, this is the perfect place for a deep and engaging conversation with somebody you've known your entire life or a complete stranger. And I have to tell you, without the Sutton Sports and Social Club, with its cozy confines and comfortable environment, I might not have approached these interviews the same way with some of my heroes from childhood. I'd also like to thank Gerry O'Halloran, who's been very supportive and helpful in this series. And Gerry, what a gent, takes great pride in his relationships with the Villa alumni. And also a shout out to Reese and Tom from Studio 46 Productions in Birmingham. Now, I know that my guest today is part of the scenery at Villa Park, even part of the furniture, and we're all very aware of his role in Aston Villa's European conquest, but I sometimes think we take for granted the fact that our Villa legends are so accessible in and around Villa Park. Well, I will never take for granted the opportunity to speak with, probe, query, and just revel in the accomplishments, the sacrifices, and the personalities behind some of Villa's biggest triumphs. I hope you enjoy my conversation with an indisputable all-time influential villain, Mr. Tony Morley.
Tony, the last time you and I chatted...
Iceland away. Miss World wanted to speak to me. True story. Miss World wanted to speak to me, Miss World in Iceland. And you'll appreciate that, won't you?
A legendary footballer with a highlight reel of credentials, but it was Miss World from Iceland.
Yes, I did dance. Marvellous. Can't believe it. Listen, I didn't end up with her.
And this is why we spoke Tony Morley.
Listen, this is going to be a disaster, isn't it? You enjoyed it, didn't you?
I did, but you were outstanding.
Yeah.
Totally interrupted afternoon where you were just watching the football.
It's what you're trying to say. I had a few beers.
Yeah.
That is quite correct. I did warn you before you come up, but it was quite funny actually, because I went to see my lad play 2 days later at Chasetown, and some bloke come on, Tony, you were brilliant on the podcast. I said, what? He said, you had a few, didn't you? I said, I had quite a few actually. I did warn him before I come here. It was totally unexpected, but I didn't mind doing it. So, but it ended up okay. That's all that mattered.
Well, I wondered if I needed to get a Scouse accent translator here because you've been living in Birmingham all this time. How do you still have a Scouse accent?
Well, I haven't really, just got little slangs now and then, I keep saying to how are you, Bab? That's a Brummie accent, you know what I mean? Which I'm not very happy with, but no, it's just because I know Kenny Swain, Peter Withe, Dennis Mortimer, Ron Saunders, they're all Scousers, weren't they? So all the time we're in the team, they're all more or less the same accents, I think.
Speaking of your son, can Joe and his wand of a left foot keep Hensford Town in the league, or is it?
They've got it. I think what's happened with Hensford, mate, they got relegated last year, and they went and bought. They bought loads of players in. You cannot get a successful side if you keep buying different players in. And what they've gone and done, which I don't agree with, they've gone and paid for a lot of ex-pros to come in. Bad move.
When you romanticize about your childhood, what do you talk about?
I mean, I remember once somebody asked me about school if I go and play for this team on Sunday. It was in Orrell Park, which is just outside Liverpool, and I turned up and I was playing for Cabbage B. I didn't realise there were another 2 cabbages above me, like, you know, like, I don't know if it was gab, and there must have been this Sunday morning, after the morning, 7:30, it must have been, seriously, I would say 50 pitches all full, and kids playing, and it was on all afternoon. So you could do things then. Now, you know, the problem is when you look at it really, kids are not allowed to play football now, are they? You go on the streets, no ball games. Oh, come on. That's where you learn. That's where you learn your ability on the streets. Like you don't learn in academies. Your basic ability is done when you're on the streets. But, you know, you don't see kids playing football no more. And to be fair, we were horrible things. Council estates we're from, so your mum and dad were probably glad to get rid of you for a few hours. So you had nothing else to do but go and play football. You know, there was nothing else to do. I used to box, and I realised once I got smashed in the nose, I wasn't going to be a good boxer, so I just stayed to football. You know, but I think it was nothing. You know, it was just the way it was then. There was not many other things to do, and obviously because I used to go and watch Everton at Liverpool there, and you used to go the buzz when you went on a match day, on the train and the crowds and the rattles then, and you go there. I'm thinking, this is phenomenal. This is what I want to do. Like, you know, standing next to the police horses, and it was just the complete and utter atmosphere was drawn us in. Like, you know, so I thought, you know, I'd love to be able to do this. Like, you know.
The amount of players from your era that says, well, you know, dad worked all the time, mum somehow kept it all together and put food on the table, and now show up to the match in a Range Rover with $300 boots, kitted out a new $5 million perfect pitch. You know, they don't have a chance, do they?
No, well, it's when things go wrong, isn't it? Like, I remember I used to have to clean boots, obviously, when I was a kid, which I didn't mind doing. We used to clean the stands, which I didn't mind, because you always found something after match day. This was when I was at Preston as a young kid. You'd always go in, the lads would be made, oh, we might find something like, you know what I mean? If it was something really expensive, you had to put it into the club, and nobody claimed it in a while. So it was enjoyable, like, you know, somebody'd leave the canteen door open, you'd get in there and pinch a few Mars bars, but it was a bit of excitement about it all. You were learning a trade. Then at the end of the year, our job was to paint the ground. We never paint anything in our lives, you know, but I thought, well, this is part of being a professional footballer. And to me, I didn't find it hard. It was a pleasure.
Could you imagine that today, though, saying to...
Well, the kids they don't do nothing like that at all, do they? And I think what happened is what, I might not be right here, but I think I'm 90% right. There was a game at Burnley, because I used to play at Burnley, and there's a game we're going, somebody kicked the ball on the stand, on the roof. And I think... I know the lad fell through. What happened? The young kid on the Mondays, young kids, I don't know, it could be from Scotland. There's a ball up there, might make a few, but he's gone up there and he stood on the glass and he's gone right through. And I think then they had to change everything. I'm not saying that caused it, but I know that's what happened. They had to change for safety reasons, like, you know.
You mentioned, you know, going to football and how, do you remember your first game and what kind of impression that left on you?
All I remember was going in the boys' pen at Everton, and he couldn't even see it. Like, it was like a little but it was cheap at the very corner. And all I remember was watching Everton score a goal. The crowd went absolutely ballistic, like, you know. I'm thinking, wow, what's all this about, like, you know. But my most impression was getting on the train where I was from in Ormskirk it was about, probably just 4 weeks to New Street from here, like, you know, 5 or 6 stops, was the people on the train. The rattles, you had rattles then, and the blue and white scarves, and everybody was, I thought, this is incredible. And when you're a young kid, you think, oh, what's this? You were scared, really. You were intimidated because it was a noise and everybody was having. And obviously, some people had a few beers by then, so they were a bit overjoyed as well. So, but it was just the overall experience of going out for the day, like, you know, and enjoying it. And that's never left me. That was still, to me, is the most important thing, like, you know, the enjoyment of, you know, big crowds and getting the buzz of it all, like, you know. I think you're very privileged if you can appreciate that type of thing, like, you know. To me, football wasn't on that. I was gifted to be able to keep myself fit and maybe try and keep people happy watching me play, like, you know. That's why I looked at it, because my heroes were always people who could do something on the ball, who got the crowd on the feet. Not the goal scorers, you know, even though they're worth a lot of money now, don't get me wrong. But somebody once the ball got to the feet, the crowd would stand up and think, wow, look at that. That's phenomenal, like, you know. So I always try to copy people like that, you know.
Was there a player on your bedroom wall at home during that time growing up?
Alec Young, a fellow who's played for Everton, saying that, Derek Temple, they used to call Alec Young the Golden Vision. And BM supporters, and obviously Garincha, you know, so about, you know, these people are just pictures you see on the television or photos on the Pele, obviously, you know, all the great Brazilians, because they were the people with ability, like, you know. And but, you know, you look at that situation. I was a professional at Preston, and I had to get the train from Preston to Ormskirk. And the train's going down to Scotland. I was on this train once, and I think I'd played for England under 23. And I got on this train, and Alec Young came on. There was the Golden Vision at Everton, if you don't know. And I was starstruck. I would be about 17 as well, and I couldn't speak to him. I thought, I've got to go and be able to speak to him, but I couldn't, you know what I mean? I couldn't move off my chair. I kept looking like that. I'm thinking, it's Alec Young, this, like, you know, I never met Alec Young. I wish I said hello to him then, like, but he'd be terrified. But he probably would end up a lovely bloke, you know. But you look at the situation, you always think, probably a lot of people think about me, oh, I can't go and speak to him. But obviously, you've met me, you know that I just like to laugh and enjoy my life, and that's it. They were probably the same type of people. We always got these impressions they're going to be a bit loose, but no, I regret that. I really do, like, you know. And I've been very fortunate. I played with Bobby Charlton and Nobby Stiles, you know, and Nobby Stiles was probably one of the loveliest people in the world, like, you know. When you say clumsy, the man was clumsy, like, you know. But Bobby Charlton was a lovely. Bobby Charlton said to me one day, he said, "Look, I'll make it simple for you. If your dribbling close control is as good as I've ever seen anybody, but sometimes it's effective to kick it 5 yards in front. You go for it,
Knock it and chase it.
knock it and chase it, like."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, you know, he's got to be right, because he's one of the greatest players ever, like, you know what I mean? And you know, so. It's nice when you get photographs or you get people telling you stuff like that, you know. Brilliant. We're world-class stars, aren't you?
Preston would have been a good place. I mean, it wasn't far.
Great.
And what a grand old club, by the way.
Great place. I was. See, don't forget, when I left school, I was only 4'8", and I was nothing. It was that's why none of the big clubs in the north. I would have gone to Everton, but obviously I don't think I would have stood a chance because I was too small. The manager at the time was Alan Ball Senior. And he said, you remind me of my son, Alan Ball, because he was only small. I prefer to Preston. I was the luckiest man in the world to go to Preston, because I don't think I went to another club that they would have given me time. I didn't play for a year. I couldn't take a corner. You know, my legs wasn't big enough. They put me on the most horrible thing called malt. But he used to spew up and spit it over the stand when he, like a mob. It's horrible, horrible stuff. And they just built me up. They moved me from home into an hostel. They had a hostel there, their own hostel, just built me up. And I would say about a year. I would say about good 9 months before I actually started playing. And from sort of like 15 to, well, up to 17, I just went right through the ranks. And I was very fortunate to play for England youth, won the Mini World Cup. But I don't think I would have got that chance if I hadn't been in the press and give me the opportunity to do that, because most people would have said, look, especially now, this day and age, you know, the way the kids are, say, you know, bang, let's move them out. They saw I had potential. So they just let me develop, and I'm ever so grateful. It was a great club, fantastic club. Like, you know, and I got, it's like a lot of Northwest clubs. You Burnley went there. They belong to the supporters there, and that's their pride and joy. You know, and that doesn't matter about anything else. That's their pride and joy. So I was very fortunate. I went to a good homely club.
And close enough that your family could.
Yeah, well, I travelled home. First of all, I'll tell you the true story. When I was playing first team at Preston, it's how things have changed. It's all changed now. I'll tell you a story about Bobby Charlton, how things changed through. It wasn't the first time I've thumbed home. I didn't have a driving licence, so we've been playing at Scunthorpe or somewhere, and you get back at sort of like 10:30 at night to Deepdale, and the trains are stopped. Many times I've thumbed home, and I've been picked up by press reporters. Can't believe it, like, oh, what are you doing? So, well, got to get home, haven't I? Like, you know what I mean? Sent me back. Yeah, quite a few times, but I didn't think that was wrong. You know what I mean? It was part of life getting home. But we'll go like how things have changed. Here's one for you. Preston with Bobby Charlton and Nobby Stiles. David Sadler, European Cup, Franny Burns. There was a few great players there. And we had a training ground called The Farm, which was 5 miles away. So your choice you had was to go in a car with somebody, and there'll be a trainer waiting for you at the training ground, and he'd run you around the pitch. And any football will tell you, if you run around the pitch, your head goes bam. It's just, oh. Or you could run up there, do your pre-warm, whatever it is, and just get straight onto your technical stuff. And I didn't think nothing of it at the time. Now, don't you forget, they're like terraced houses when you're going through them, and like, you know, main road. I've just run across with Nobby Stiles and Bobby Charlton, and all the old women would come up, all right, Nobby, love, we like a cup of tea, you know? And I'm thinking, all right, Bobby, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, looking back, I didn't think of anything like that now, but looking back now, 2 World Cup winners running up the road with like 15, 20 lads, and all the old women saying, all right, Nobby, love, and I'm thinking, that's what football should be like. It's not like. And I'm never, just when you're looking, like you mentioned before, how privileged players are now. Well, they're 2 World Cup winners, 2 big stars, and then they were running with them, and all the old women on the terrace street, like, you know, hanging and washing out and the knickers out, and I'm like, hey, Nobby, love, come on, do you want a cup of tea? And to me, that's what made it so enjoyable now. At the time, I didn't realise what it was all about. Looking back, I'm thinking, wow, it was incredible, like, you know.
What was the breakthrough at Preston? Did you know it was coming?
I don't know where it's come from. I ended up playing for England youth at Preston in 3rd division, and I thought I might have a chance here because there's not many 3rd division players playing for England youth, like, you know what I mean? And obviously you're always concerned because you think these lads come from Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea, they're better than you, but you realise they weren't.
Yeah.
And you thought, well, you know, if I can hold my own against these, you know, you've got a chance. Like, but it's like anything, professional football, mate. You've got to have that break, the right place, the right time as well, and the right team. You know, which is very important. You know, because if you don't, you could be a great player, but in a bad side, and you can be lost. You know?
If you don't mind, I'm going to skip past Burnley in those years, if you would mind, because we're all about Aston Villa, and you know, a year where 1979, the universe kind of brings 2 pretty important entities together, Aston Villa and Tony Morley.
Yeah, I could personally say this, and I don't mind you, whoever said that, Villa won the European Cup, won't we? No question.
In the end, of course.
No, I think I was the one player who could just take it that bit higher. Not that I was the best player, I'm not saying it, but I had that ability when it needed. I could just sort of like do something that could, so maybe it might have been one of those destinies you don't know, like, you know, but no, my first year at Villa, I didn't play. I had a bad injury on my knee, and Ron Saunders. So you've got to get used to playing the way I want to play. And it wasn't the way I want to play, but it's the way he wanted to play. But I had an operation. He said, "You've got a bad knee, haven't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, wait till the end of the season. Don't bother coming on tour with us. Get yourself fit." So I knew that was going to be the make or break season for us. So I had to get my finger out, and you know. So I stayed behind in the summer. I didn't bother going. I just trained by myself, and so I was ready to be, you know, running when the season started. Like, you know.
How did Ron even find you? And did you get a wind of it? Like, I mean, there wasn't transfer rumors on.
I tell you what, mate, true story. Like, it was end of the season, pre-season, summer break, and I was out in Southport. I was a young lad, 20, some nice birds about one, some nice girl about some, chased a few birds, and they were nurses, like, you know. And I know they were staying at some hostel, and all I remember is they were trying to get in this hostel. I'm lucky, really, because the police went past, you know, and I could have got locked up, like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to chase these birds. It wasn't, not that I'm a pervert, but I'm trying to chase. Listen, when you're 22, a young man, it's what nature's all about. And I was, anyhow, cut a long story short, I got home, I was at my grandparents, and got home about 2:00 in the morning, and my granddad said to us, a Saunders has been on. Do you know who he is? The manager. He said, this was about 9:00 at night, and I didn't get in. He said, he's going to phone you back at 12 in the morning. He doesn't know what he's talking about, like, you know. So I'm speaking to Saunders on this phone at 12 in the afternoon, and he said to us, "Oh, it's nice to hear a Scouse accent. Would you like to play for Aston Villa Football Club?" Well, obviously, I played against Villa, and I realised what a massive club it was. And I played against Villa when I made my debut, I think, for Preston at Villa Park. And there was 28,000 in the 3rd division. I thought, wow, it's a special club. And the end of the season, there was 48,000 Bournemouth, I think. But what impressed me more than anything else, when I said I played with everything, when I played for England youth, you used to have to play against the 2 teams in the FA Youth Cup final that year and it was Liverpool and Villa. So we played at Anfield, it was 14,000 in a youth game. And I played at Villa Park against Villa, it was 18,000. I'm thinking, 18,000 youth game. It's a special club, like, you know what I mean? And then you used to have these AV for floodlights. Aston Villa for floodlights. So you used to drive down the moat to play. So I knew this street, I knew how big it was, but I didn't realise how big it was until I actually joined the club. So Sona said, "Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We'll just be at the ground by 2:00. So I drove down, and wasn't he interested in money? He was playing for Aston Villa Football Club, and Sona's done as usual. He said, "We've got to send you for exam. Yeah, no problem." But the Villa had their own people there. Come back, I don't know, have some lunch, come back, and I was in his office, like in uni. He said, "I've got a slight problem, son. You've got a problem with your back." So then you start panicking, then you start thinking, "No, it's going to be so." So say for asking for 300 quid. He'll say, we'll give you 150. You happy with that? Well, of course you are. You made up because you want to play for Aston Villa. You don't realise he's probably said that to every player been in there, like, you know, because when they're dealing with people, that's how they work, don't they? Like, you know, so all of a sudden, where I was fit and playing for England youth, I've got a bad back and it could affect my career, like, you know what I mean? Which was nothing wrong with my back. It was just the way he was, like, you know. Listen, I've signed and it was probably the best move I ever done, like, you know, so it was brilliant.
It was 150 a week, did you say?
Probably something like that, yeah. You know, that's, and you know, that's I'm lucky, you know. That's what he offered me from about 300. Something like that, and he offered me something ridiculous because I had a bad back. I mean, you're glad to sign.
Yeah.
You're glad to sign, like, you know what I mean? You think, well, oh yeah, you know, bad back. You join this massive club, like, you know. Well, listen, it doesn't matter if they pay me 20 quid a week. It was a privilege to play for Aston Villa Football Club. Like, I wasn't in the football for money, not at all.
Yeah.
Nothing. I was just to enjoy myself. I look at it back, and I was very fortunate to be able to keep myself fit. I always say to young kids now, look, if you get football, you're getting paid 100 quid a week. You're getting paid, keep fit. It's the best thing in the world. Just go to the hospitals, see these kids that can't do anything, like, you know, walk down the streets, see these kids, you realise how lucky you are, like, you know. Don't go in there and say, I want $5 a week. Just go in there and say, oh, it's going to offer me $2 a week, he's modern, and keep myself fit, getting the best food, getting the best, you know, medical attention. Take it, because it's not many professions like that.
Still, even at 150 a week, did you get yourself an indulgence purchase?
I went and got a car.
Which kind of car?
It was a Capri. What an idiot, like, you know what I mean? You're like one of your typical, like, you're a young lad and your brain's all over the place, like, you know what I mean? So, looking back, it was ridiculous, like, you know, but it's just the way it was then, like, you know. I've no regrets. It's part of life. I can look back and think, well, hang on, well, at least I've done something. I enjoyed it, like, you know.
But even at that stage, okay, so you've had the chat, you've agreed.
Yeah.
Did you expect and did you get the impression that you're stepping right in and you are a first team regular?
Well, my first training session, I trained like Alan Evans and people like that who'd just been there before, John Gidman, and I realised the standard fitness was a level above what we used to. Don't get me wrong, Bobby Charlton and Burnley trained hard, but some of these lads who were naturally good players have got natural fitness. It's above the average person, so you've got to sort of get on that level. If you're not on that level, you know, it's going to be hard for you to graduate. But to be fair, I've always been fit, touch wood. You know, I didn't find it hard. In fact, I used to love training. I used to love hard days. I used to love it because I thought, hang on, you're hurting, you know, but you're getting paid for it, like, you know what I mean? So I think.
You knew how to run with the ball at your feet. You had also adopted the knock it 5 yards and chase after it. Yeah. That's how you liked. What did Ron Saunders want? Because you mentioned earlier.
Offended.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because were you a 4-3-3 where you were advanced or? That's
probably one of your modern days, what they play now, like up and down. That's what Saunders demanded. I mean, I've been in the dressing room lots of times and we say we're winning 2-0. Tottenham, wherever, because usually we never really lost at Villa Park, could be anybody. So, and he'd come in at half time. He always knew when he was going to give you a rollicking because he always took his gloves off and went. And I'm thinking, oh no. I'm looking back now, it was a compliment. I mean, he'd come in, so he'd only have a go at 3 people in that dressing room. That was me, Gary Shaw, and Gordon Cowans. Only 3 he'd have a go at. He'd won't have a go at anybody else. He said to us,
always.
Yeah, mostly. 9 times out of 10 he'd come in because he knew us 3. Our ability would look after itself. It's the other side of the game. Where Gordon could tackle, but Gordon sometimes would try and do ridiculous passes. Someone would say to him, make sure you pass it to him. Gary couldn't tackle like me, and he used to take apprentices on the bench. One was Brian McClure, who went from Man United, legend Man United. He'd come to Villa, and he used to say to him, I want you to count the tackles that these 2 are making. I could have made 2 goals, and Gary could have scored 2. And he'd come in and he'd say, you're not doing your jobs. You're not tracking back. You're not doing your jobs. He said, get your tackles in. He said, well, I want at least 3 or 4 tackles a game from you, you know, 50s. Well, listen, we know now that what he was saying was correct. Like, but the problem thing was, you go back and defend, and Ken McNaull would say to me, you're effing useless here. Get on the halfway line for defending. So you're stuck in between 2. You're getting a rollicking there from the defender, excuse the language, and Saunders is going, I ain't going to win here, like, you know what I mean? But no, it was... looking back, it was an education.
Did you like Ron Saunders?
Yeah, we got on really well. Well, I won't say he's my mate. We got on really well. Like, you know what I mean? He just got the best out of me. He just wind me up, and you know. And I always knew when I was in trouble. My name was Anthony. Anthony, office. Anthony. what's happening now, like, you know what I mean? He had no favourites. We had to do a job for him. And if he didn't do the job, just get somebody else. I mean, I remember getting dropped a couple of times, actually. And I had Ron Atkinson from Man United tapping me up, and Bergenshaw from Tottenham. He said, "Why aren't you playing?" I said, "I have." He said, "Look, well, we're interested here, like, you know." Anyhow, so cut a long story short, on the Monday, I made an appointment to see Ron in his office. So I've gone in his office, and he always used to sit behind a little desk, only a small office, and he always had a cigar. These small offices in the office then. He was always on the phone. Always on the phone to somebody. So you go in there, you had this plan when you went in there, what you're going to say to him, like, you know, I've had two of the biggest clubs in the country after me, chat me up, want to all day. So I'm in there, so I've got all this. And then he'd turn around and say something like, all right, get a cigar, blow it all over. And you say, good luck on Saturday, Bill Shankly. So you think, it's Peter Bill Shankly. And he put the phone down. Then he'd say to us, right, Anthony, I've only got two things to say to you. Or one, he said, one, I said, one, you think you're a good player. Two, I think you're crap. So I'm thinking, okay, all right, fair enough. Then he'd go, so, well, you can't do this. You can't do that. And when I'm on this chair, when I'm going in there with all these things in my mind, I'm cocky, like, oh, I'm slipping down this chair. I'm slipping down. He's got me all of a sudden. He must have loads of time. Anyhow, so we've gone through, oh, you can't do that. You can't do. And then I've gone out, stood up, and the door's only about 2 yards away from there. And he said, so I said, well, if you don't rate me, is any clubs interested in me? He's probably said to quite a few, and he said, yeah. And I thought, well, I've got him. Who was it? He said, Halifax and Rochdale. Yeah. And he said to me, realise how lucky you are. Get out there and train this afternoon by yourself. And I thought, so I went out, instead of going to Man United and Tottenham, I was going to Halifax and Rochdale. So I couldn't wait to train in the afternoon, like, you know what I mean, pouring down with rain, like, you know. So, but he must have said it to loads of lads, loads.
But did it bother you?
No, just the way he was, like, you know. I just, don't forget, Villa's probably had one of the best training grounds in the country, and even though it's nothing like it is now, it was still a pleasure to be there. But saying that, it was nothing worse than playing on a November, running around Bodymore Reed, because there's no protection, it's cold. And I've done it quite a few times. And he'd drive out the car park, he opened the window, he'd go, mate, sure he works hard, Anthony.
In his Jaguar?
In his Jaguar. It's just called Goal of the Season and Goal of Europe. I got two lovely awards for it. I got fined £200. One, because I'd done those silly fingers to him, didn't I? Like, one's at Everton, because he wasn't going to play me, my team, and so I went over to him. And one in Berlin, when Jimmy Rimmer saved a penalty, where he's saying to me before the game, you'll never score 2 goals, you're too flash. You'll try and chip the keeper, he'll come off the crossbar and miss it. So he just wired me up again, didn't he? Like, so he knew what he was doing, didn't he? Like, so I got Goal of Season, Goal of Europe, and I got fined £200, which is a lot of money then, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, it's over a week's wages based on.
Well, you know, depends if you have a bad knee.
In 1979, when you signed, I mean, the squad is now evolving into something that's resembling what it would end up becoming. Did you feel it then?
No, I think we had a meeting before, and Saunders said before the season started, pre-season, he said, look, I'm building a nice bunch of lads here. He said, a good team. I think we've got a chance of winning the championship this year. I think if we beat Liverpool, get above, which I think we're capable of, we'll be champions. And nobody really believed, because Liverpool was sort of like Man United or Man City are at the moment. You know, they were dominant, probably more dominant than Man City are at the moment. In Europe, I'm on about, nobody wanted to play against them. I think they were the benchmark you had to look for. And the funny thing was, Liverpool used to train at Bodymore Reed when they were playing in the Cup. Mm. They always trained there, so you got to know the lads, like, you know what I mean? Good bunch of lads. I said, well, they're no different than us. Well, you know, so yeah, he had this belief in the squad of players and what he had, that we could achieve great things, like, you know. But you've got to start winning things and build the confidence up, then you realise. And I think once the season started going, we realised we had a chance. We were as good as anybody in the league, and, you know.
Was there a game in the 80-81 season where you went, okay?
Liverpool, so
2-0?
Beat them. If you look at Villa's second goal, then he scored. That's typical of Aston Villa at the prime. You play against the best team in the world, well, in top 3 or 4 sides in the world, and it was that's what made Villa so special. If any support, I'd say, look at that second goal. So what happens? Alan Kennedy's were attacking for Liverpool, and Des Bremer come and tackled him, got the ball up in his own box, give it to Swain. He went forward, attacking Swain. Swain back-heeled it to Gerry Shaw. Gerry Shaw bent it outside his foot along the floor to Dennis. Never left the floor. And from winning in our own box to like Dennis finishing in a matter of 5-6 seconds. Phenomenal move. That was Villa, the fluent, the best. So how can, press, win the ball. Again, a fullback who was back-heeling it, surely, because he had big, wide feet, could bend anything, so he bent it round, and Dennis went through and took it around the keeper, So that was, to me, was Villa at the best how Villa played. And to be probably one of the best teams in Europe it was a confidence booster.
What impressed me as, a 10, 11-year-old was the noise, and I don't even think the television coverage could compensate the sound that we got on the other side of the speakers compared to what you were hearing there.
Well, to be honest, you blank that off. You blank it off. I mean,
you don't even notice it.
Well, not really. I'll tell you what I noticed more. I'll tell you a true thing now. I played at Burnley. We'll go back to Burnley quickly now. And I fell out with the chairman called Bob Lord. Pre-season trip. I got my head shaved. Completely shaved. Got an earring in. And Holland were the best team in the country at the time. They all played. And they all had love beads. I thought, that'll do me. Class, have some love beads. So I put, come on, love beads, my head shaved. And Bob Lord took one look at me because I was record fee for them. Bought me record fee. I think I realised then I was moving soon. He looked at me and went, big cigar, and walked out. But this is what we talk about crowds. So anyhow, we're playing at Hull for Burnley. I'm not having a good time at all. I'm playing on the wing. And all had this terrace in where stand cover came halfway down. So the rest down for another 15 steps was open to the elements. And it was pouring down with rain. And I'm playing on this left wing and the ball's gone out to play. And it's like a bit of a wall and a drop. I know you think about it, now 100,000 you don't pick things up. 12,000 you do. So I've gone there, and this Burnley supporter come down and picked the ball. And he said to me, Morley, excuse me, he said, you look like a bleeding clown now, you're playing like one. And all the lads on the pitch started laughing. And, when I played at Burnley a couple of games later, I'm sure I could hear his voice. It just stuck in my mind, I thought, and the way he said it, I probably did look like a clown, love bees on an earring, I thought I was like one of the great Dutch players, but he just said, you look like a clown, now you're playing like one. I thought, that's always stuck in my mind to this day, I was giggling, But it was the lads taking the mickey on the pitch, the players, because there's no hiding place on a pitch.
Yeah.
They were saying, well, something could be right.
So you didn't block that one out.
No. You get them, West Brom, when I joined West Brom, it was like that black country accent, yeah, I'm useless, yeah, I'm Morley. I think, oh, Jesus Christ, these certain things will stick in your mind, But no, I was very fortunate because always, even though when we won the league that year, because of a lot of unemployment and strikes, it wasn't massive crowds, but you still played from the 28, 30,000, I remember when I scored the goal in the semi-final of the European Cup, I think it was hand-elected all. I missed a sitter, the one before, and some bloke was giving me a right verbal on the side. Right verbal, because I actually prefer to his very similar move to the, but I hit this one and it hit the corner flag. It went, I'm thinking, walking back over, I'm thinking, you didn't get many chances, European Cup, semi-final. And this bloke gave me that much stick on it. Yeah. And then 5 minutes later, I scored exactly. I went looking for him. I thought, where are you now? I can't find you. And he was probably calling me the best thing in the world. But 10 minutes before, I was like, wow, useless. What a silly thing. After I'm looking for this bloke who's verbally me, you know what I mean?
It's like Ollie Watkins at Brentford.
Well, it was a bad one. I actually hit the corner flag.
Yeah.
Left side, fucking went over there. I'm thinking, I wasn't proud of that one.
How much of it was just your team's familiarity with one another and how you like to play?
100%.
And not pattern play. Did you practice and train patterns in training at all?
No, just get behind the ball. The only thing Saunders used to do was he'd put 11 reserves and we'd play 4-4-2 without the strikers. And then just get used to being solid. If you look at all the teams, they all say they're getting solid because they're playing with 4 at the back or 4 in midfield. It's a load of garbage, It's all this fluent stuff, Liverpool were doing it years ago. Forest done it years ago, you know what I mean? But I think when we were playing, you had a job to do. You knew your job. You're playing against a fullback. Make sure you get better. You centre-halfsman against the centre-forwards. I mean, I watch international football now, and I watch the centre-backs playing for the countries. And if I had it, apart being a striker, if I would say to my lad, be a centre-back, because if you play 3 centre-backs, a lot of people do, one of them was hardly picking anybody up. Even at Villa, you see somebody get the centre-backs, some of the centre-backs, Conza, somehow they pass the ball. Good players, don't get me wrong, very, very good players. They pass the ball and they stand about for like 40 seconds because it's the way everything is. Keep possession, you don't have to do anything. Like, you know, we couldn't do it our time because you had to get in and, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it was better in our time or it was better now, but, you know, it's everything's changed completely, like, you know, for the better, for the supporters. I mean, suppose, you know yourself, you've been down to Villa Park now, and it's a fantastic day out now for nice meals, nice restaurants, and nice couple of nice glasses of wine, quite a few nice glasses of wine. Well, years ago, it wasn't like that. But now, you know, people, I look at Villa Park now, and because I do a lot of corporate, you know, it's still buzzing an hour after a game. Well, that's telling us something's happening because, you know, all the club want at the end of the day is a business, the people who run it, and people are spending money.
Yeah.
The longer they can keep them in there, the more money they're going to get. And what's happening, and it all starts from the pitch. They're producing on the pitch, so it comes all the way through, you know.
You mentioned, you know, beating Liverpool obviously was maybe a psychological milestone.
Yeah.
Extraordinary in that season was how the Midlands had so many good teams. And so you had derbies all the time.
I think we had 7 derbies.
Right, which is taxing. Would you say that those games were just...
The match we are in the league, it goes out the window. You know, we had Forest were European champions. You know, Wolves just won the League Cup. Leicester were there. Coventry were there. You know, there was some great teams. Well, obviously the Blues was a nightmare playing against them. It's, you know, so I mean, people always say Ipswich should have beat us that year, should have won the league. But I always say to people, Ipswich dropped 3 points. Only 2 points then, dropped 3 points against one team that year, and they got relegated, and that was Norwich, local derby.
Yeah.
One, and they couldn't take the football. We had 7. I think we only dropped 1 or 2.
You didn't lose one.
We didn't lose one. I don't think any other team will ever win the league with that many local derbies. Like, you know, I don't think they will.
You're in your pomp, a young guy, the hair that you grew back out again.
Yeah.
I mean, how much fun was it being Tony Morley?
The funny thing about my hair, because it was blonde. I tell you what happened. I'd say the truth what happened, and the lads know this. We went away at the end of the season to Long Beach, California. Ooh. And it was the worst boring beach in the world. You couldn't have a drink on the beach. You couldn't have a drink. And I'm thinking Long Beach. I'm thinking there's going to be darling birds running up and down. The lads are all going to
town.
Well, you know, so on this beach and we're bored. And okay, we're white because we had a season. And we're thinking, look at the state with scars in our legs. We look at right hillbillies, like, you know what I mean? Couldn't have a drink on the beach. I don't know, it might have changed now. So let's go to the bar on the beach somewhere. So we're in the bar on the beach, and obviously the lads got bored. 1 drink leads to another, then 2 leads to 10. And then so we had a bet. We saw this thing called Sun-In. Sun-In was like a spray you put in your hair. And you can end up like a California model. Like. So we had a toss round. Guess who lost? I had to put it in.
Yeah.
Fucking mugging, yeah. So spray this stuff. I've had a few beers by then, so all the lads had a few beers. He might, yes, come on, let's go on the next another 2 or 3 hours on the beach. What are we doing? And I woke up in the morning, my hair was ginger.
Oh.
It was straw. It was ginger. I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't believe this. Like, my girlfriend left me with a mouse hair. When I went back a week later, it was honestly, she looked at me, she thought, what have you been doing? So I thought, what am I going to do now? I can't get it here. So I went and got it highlighted. And it's the worst thing I ever done, because when I got it highlighted, the lads knew where I was going. And you have to pull her through like little... Yeah. Well, they see me, didn't they? They all come in. I'm thinking, they ain't get any better this, like, you know what I mean? And also, I got it highlighted now. But it was just a completely silly, drunken afternoon on Long Beach, California with the lads. I lost the bet, so I had to put it in my hair, and it was just sunning. So if anybody watches it, do not use sunning.
What was Birmingham like, though?
Different. It was a big city. It's not like it is now, vibrant, you know. There was a lot of unemployment about it at the time, you know, but you could sense it was a massive city. Going into, you know, I used to have my friends up from Liverpool and live for the big city, but Birmingham was a bit bigger city. It's changed phenomenally now. It's a great city now. Like, there's, you know, some great restaurants and, you know, places like that. But then again, when we were young kids, though, you know, we weren't interested in restaurants. There was a pub after the game called the Cork and Bottle. And we always go in there and have a few beers. So it was all... You know, you wouldn't really go to for restaurants then, like, you know, players go for restaurant, which is fair enough. You know, they can book the restaurant out, can't we? We just have some fish and chips after the game, like, you know, and that's what it was like then. But we'd have some of the best players in the country coming this Cork and Bottle, have a drink with us, like, you know, before they were going home. Like, you know, you talk about some of the best players in the country. That won't happen now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This won't happen.
There was a great music scene too, though. At
Yeah,
this
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And I'm wondering, you know, as a footballer, would there have been an occasion where you might have?
Well, no, I was in Northern Soul because that's all in my Northern Soul was into me because that was where I was brought up. All my mates, when I used to play football, used to go away to like Blackpool and all these Northern Soul nights. So I was into I don't think they had a Northern Soul thing in Birmingham. They had the one in Coventry was called My Town, and it's based on Coventry. Like a lot of heavy metal in Birmingham because obviously a lot of Ozzy Osbourne, all them. But it was never no Northern Soul. I was into all that Northern Soul type of stuff, like, you know.
So you weren't partying with Ozzy or...
No.
But you did end up in the Birmingham Canal once, is that true?
Who's told you that? Gerry Shaw told you that?
I don't know. I just remember seeing, maybe it was Gerry Shaw, or maybe I read it somewhere.
Yeah, I was out with him, yeah. Yeah, I was out with him. Friday afternoon, lovely day. We were up the mailbox, a lovely bar called Estillo. We had a few glasses of red wine, then we wanted to go across the bridge, across the canal to another bar. Anyhow, in my 40s, and I was having nice trousers and everything like that. As a gentleman, it was only a narrow path like this, and there's a lady walked past in a pram. So I moved out the way and said, oh, okay, you can get past me. I've lost my balance, haven't I? So I'm going. But the worst thing about it, I know I can't stop myself, so I've tried to make it look like a dive. So I've got...
Like you meant to.
Even the doorman come out, and I didn't realise the canal's only that deep. It's only that deep, you know. And I couldn't get out. And I'm thinking the doorman looked at me, going, "Oh, we won't get much for that." Do you know why I tried to make a dive? I had a new watch. I didn't want the watch to go on there, so I tried to make it look like that. I'm sure he was there. And I'm thinking, I got up in the. How I got home, I don't know, in the taxi. I must have given him a few extra bob. Yeah, I did end up in that was about 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, like, you know what I mean? So, and no Mark Spiggs, and, you know, the swimming went out. Even the duck started laughing, like, you know what I mean? I was lucky it was only that deep.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize, but I was just filthy. I had some cream shoes on, that's what an idiot I was. And trying to climb out the wall, just shoes, everything was ruined, like, you know. So, quite a few things like that, to be honest, yeah. I could write a book about things I've done.
Well, this is why we're here.
Yeah.
And when did Miss Iceland come into the picture, by the way?
Recommend in the Champions League. She's come to some bar. No, this was a type of bunch of lads there. Miss Will was there, and Gerry Shaw was trying to do his usual dancing. He's absolutely useless, so it didn't get him very far, like, anyhow. So she came in, well, went anyhow. So we had the lad playing for us called Ivor Linton. Lovely, great lad, great. Should have been a great driver. And he had a big afro at the time. And we're in this nightclub, and in Iceland at the time, there was a US base army.
Right.
So MPs for these MPs, military police. So we're in this nightclub, and seeing these two MPs walking down, looking around at Sin Ivor. Thought he was one of the American line there. So they've come over, asked for his ID, didn't have one. He said, right, you think you better come over to find out who you are? And I was turning around to the lads going, tell them, lads. I said, we don't know him. We haven't a clue who he is. We haven't a clue who he is, like, you know what I mean? But that's what a good bunch of lads were. We knew
Yeah.
They had to take him out and come back. Had to go and get his passport. And we always say, we haven't a clue who he is. He's just seen him. He's just joined us, like, you know what I mean? But he's gone.
Who was the biggest mischief maker on the team? Was that you?
I was probably up there. Brendan Hornsby was a good lad, you know. Brendan Hornsby was a great lad, you know. Him and Daisy. Peter Withe played a bit, like, yeah. So there was a one or two. You know, if you're away for a while, you've got to have a bit of, you know, you can't just straight down the line all the time, like, you know what I mean? But no, there were a good bunch of lads. Probably the best dressing room I've ever been in. People always say to me, do I miss football? I say, no, I miss the dressing room.
Yeah.
I miss the crap with the lads. Of course I miss football, but I mean, I miss the
banter.
The banter. There's no hiding place in the dressing room. The funny thing about a dressing room is that if you've played well on a Saturday, you're not mentioned on a Monday. But if you've had a bad game on a Saturday, which does happen quite often, you're slaughtered.
Yeah.
So you just got to accept it, like, you know. But it's I just miss the banter, like the crowd with the lads. That's why when I see army lads come out the army, they've been like, you know, maybe now for 10 years, and they come to see and they can't adjust. God, these lads are finding to save each other's lives. You know what I mean? So you build that bond.
Yeah.
So it might come out and have a good job, maybe trying to work. I'm not saying not knocking anybody working in an office, but they might do that. They can't do it.
Yeah.
They can't have that banter. Any sportsman who are in a team game, they will say to you, it's a horrible place, but a great place.
Yeah.
No, brilliant.
Well, just back to Miss Iceland, though. You never finished the story there.
I can't tell you.
Are you the ladies' man in the group, by the way, or is that Gary Shaw?
He thought he was.
Yeah. The dancing didn't help him.
He's done. He's from Chelmsford. He's from Chelmsford Wood. You don't dance there, mate. You know what I mean?
But, Iceland is almost renowned for its beautiful, strong women. And here you've got Miss World.
She was invited from the board, the directors and that, so she just came to have a drink with the lads, obviously Miss World, you're all trying to impress yourselves, even me with my ginger hair,
Was there a brawler in your group?
Brendan Hornsby was the one.
Was he?
He was all right, Brendan, good lad, he's big Ken McNaught, we him on the pitch, Ken would sort them out for Peter. If anybody needs sorting out on the pitch physically, Peter would have a word with Ken, or Ken would have a word. Just make sure you leave your elbow there. We played Barcelona in the Super Cup, and we couldn't get past the big centre off because we would never, be ball coming, wouldn't it? Kevin North said to Withe, again a corner, make sure he gets it, you know what I mean? Well, next thing they'd be sparked out anyway. So that happened then, you know what I mean? You had to have somebody in the pitch, Des Brent was, always got stuck in. We always one or two people on the pitch you were a bit aggressive, you needed that, every team needs something like that in there. You get your ball players like me, Gary, and maybe Gordon. The rest were sort all great players. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we were better. We weren't better, but you need that mixture,
May 26th, 1982. How many times have you watched the game?
Very rarely.
Really?
Yeah.
See, as a crap footballer, I would have watched that game all the time.
Now, do you know the funny thing is that I got these tickets, and I never used to get changed. Me and Gordon Carnes never used to get changed half an hour before the game. We'd come in and do a few stretching, go out. So it was not going to change for the European Cup final. It wasn't, because it's just a game, innit? It's not just a game, but
you had to treat it that way. Yeah.
But the funny thing was, I got me mates from Liverpool some tickets for the game. And they were 40 minutes before the game, they're not here. Half an hour before the game, and somebody said, "Are you playing?" Yeah, I said. So I've ended up giving my tickets away, supporters. So I've gone on the pitch, and now this is what it was like. I seen them a week later back home. I said, "Where were you?" I said, "We had a better off." I said, "Well," I said, "We met some nice girls in Amsterdam." So there's no mobile phones then, so they couldn't phone you up like that. I'm waiting for my tickets from, and I've met some girls in Amsterdam, so they're not going to the game. So I said, brilliant. So it was like half an hour before the game. I just went out and just stretched off and played, don't you? So it was, but simple things like that stick in your mind, It's not like me making a goal for Peter. I met my mates now, I've got you them tickets, and you travel.
The game. This is Bayern Munich, and it turned out that it needed the individual moment. That
was my job. My job was to get past people, get the ball into the box. The most thing I laugh about it more than anything else is Gary Shaw. And Gary Shaw always says, I should have been in the box. Well, you don't realise Gary was on the left wing, passed the ball to me. Yeah. Now, if he had his way again, he would have been in the box and pass it to us, you know what I mean? All strikers want to do is score goals. That's 30. It don't matter if they play garbage.
Yeah.
They want to score goals, so they're happy. That's what he wanted to do. So I look back, and I always, when I have a drink with Gary, I always said, well, I should have been in the box. I said, but you weren't, were you? You sat in your arse. You lost the ball in the corners. You give it to me, But I keep hearing this thing up here about, Bayern Munich battered us. I honestly tell you, on the pitch, we felt we were going to score a goal. We knew, you know what I mean? They were a good side. And what a lot of people don't realise, Villa just done a deal with Nike. I know you've heard this. Done a deal with the Word boots for the final. 4 or 5 of the lads had the biggest blisters you could ever wish to, because they weren't expecting us to win. They would guarantee some new boots. And it was Kenny Swain, Alan Evans, I think Ken McNaught. They had, and I mean blisters, when you have a blister, they couldn't hardly, the last 20 minutes, they couldn't hardly move. So it's silly things like that. When you're looking back, you think, we done well actually to get that,
When that moment occurred, 67th minute, did you see Peter well beforehand, or were you putting it into an area that you knew he might be at?
Yeah, quite right, because that's my job. So as I get put in that area, it's up to the striker, but I've got this ability that I can sense things, what's happening. So I knew there'd be something there, I couldn't say I actually seen him, but I always had that ability that, well, it was there then, so we should be there then, it's 6, I don't know what it's called. But basically, I'm trying to blow my own trumpet now, but I'll just go back to it. That's what Saunders' job. I know he wasn't the manager then, but he said, you done your job, you get the ball in the box, it's up there. But there's only had one strike in the box then, so I knew I had to do. So so I just pinged. I knew I couldn't chip it, so I just pinged it like.
Just on that, how odd was that you had that managerial change there, and did he back off?
No, he was the best thing he'd done was just let it go. He knew that the lads were good enough, to do what they had to do. We've been drilled for years. When you were at Villa, when Saunders was a young kid, no, I didn't was a young kid. He used to train from 15. Same way as when they got in the first team at 17, 18, 19. So they've been trained the same way as the first team for 5, 6 years. Like Liverpool done for Forest or Man City do now. Every player that comes in plays the same as Saunders was doing. It was 40 years ago. So there's nothing, So these lads were coming in. So Tony knew if I change it now, so he just let it roll on, which I think was the best thing he could do, really, to be fair to you.
What about the celebrations after, Tony? The sense of accomplishment is so enormous. How long did that feeling stay with you?
Do you know what the pressure was? Not to let England down, because it'd been in the country for 5 years. You didn't want to be the club to let England down, because I don't think it was Liverpool and Forest. That was pressure. That was really pressure. You're thinking, well, you don't really let them down. There'll be no other team that. So it wasn't playing against Bayern Munich. It was the pressure of not keep this trophy in this country again now, Obviously, when we won it, it was a strange experience because we ended up waiting for Peter and
drug tests
in the caravan. You know what I mean? And they just got pissed by the time we got back in the dressing room. They were, what was a local beer? Was it Heineken?
Yeah.
And the two German lads in there, I think it was Argenthaler and Sooners. They couldn't have a drink. Because they had a game on the Wednesday, the cup final, I think. You know something about that game? A lot of people didn't realise. It was the first time Bayern Munich had been beaten in any final. Some records. It's nice to take that off them, because it's a massive club, but never been beaten in a final. That's some record, So they must have gone in there so confident, But the celebrations we're in a dressing room and it was empty because we had to wait for Ken and Peter. It was like maybe an hour and a half after. And they come in well bevered, and we haven't had a drink by then. All we want to do is go and have a drink, so we'll go and celebrate, And they come in topsy, because it was very hot on the night. It wasn't sunny, but hot, dehydrated. So you had to get the fluids in you, and they were just a couple of crates of Heineken later on. They come in, and there's no water, and it was cold. And the lads would say, "Come on, let's go," And then we lost the European Cup. So after we got off the bus, going to the hotel, where's the European Cup? And it was left in the toilet, wasn't it? We had to go looking for it. It was left in the toilet, the toilet's there. Nobody knew where it was. Somebody said, I've had enough of this now, let's put it in the toilet, So it was like a school outing, but with adults, you know what I mean? If you know what I mean, it was easy, it was a pleasurable, I think we've won the European Cup here, you know what I mean? What we're going to do, be serious. We're going to enjoy it, you know what I mean?
Did you go into Rotterdam and find an establishment?
No, we drove back to Amsterdam. That's where we're waiting. We just got referred to all the wives and the girlfriends and partners, whoever they were all there. We had a good session. And then the girls had to go, the wives and the girls went back on an earlier flight because we had to come into Birmingham at a different airport. So we had another session then. So by the time we got to Birmingham, 18 hours later, it was, I think one or two wanted to fly the plane.
There's the banner on the North Stand. Yeah. And there's your name.
Do you know what's up? Can I be beautiful honest? I feel let down. Not at Villa. We're at when Doug Ellis come because the club was set up to be one of the best in the business. I was 27 when he come and I was finished. I was not at my prime, but the young lads all the way through. And I feel now, I've always said this, I feel sorry for the supporters because they had a chance then to put a few more trophies. I would have moved on. Dennis would have been moved. We've all would have been moved on. But you wouldn't mind getting moved on because you felt part of a dynasty, which could have been. But you got broke up too early, and that's my biggest regret in football. That because there could have been another few too. Because it was so established. Everybody knew what they were doing. It wasn't hard. It was easy. And it was not always has been, always will be my biggest regret in football.
It is very unusual that the period that he was away.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
It's a tough question to speak of somebody who's not here, but...
No, I'll speak. Yeah, he caused it. You know what you're going to say. He caused no question. He ruined a great future. No question.
So you feel he had resentment towards...
Yeah, definitely. No question down about it. I mean, you don't... Listen, I just been voted one of the best left-sided players in Europe at 27. I can't get in the side at 28. So telling you there's something not quite. I should have had another 3 years of my prime, and I knew how to move. Simple as that, like, you know. And a typical example, I don't mind saying it. When I was leaving Villa, I was going to West Brom, and I had a meeting. I knew I wasn't going to. So look, I was with the girlfriend at the time. I didn't want to leave Birmingham. I was quite happy. I was an example. I'm not lying about it. It's a fact. We had a meeting, and West Brom came in for us, and Doug Ellis was there in a meeting. And we had a club car. West Brom didn't have club cars, so I needed a time to get my own car. And so I said to Mr. I said, what you've done for this club, Anthony, you can keep the car as long as you want. There was a few floats, no problem. And I was still owed some money. I was 3 or 4 months short of 5 years. Well, after 5 years, you got a bit of loyalty money. So I'm in. They said, whatever's due to you, we'll get it for you, no problem. Shook hands. You know. I phoned up at the end of the month. The reply was, from the Secretary of the Times, in Mr. Ellis, the reply was, tell Morley to get the car back and he's not getting his bonus. So I tried to get the PFA platform onto it. But he said, you haven't a chance. He's very clever. He said, your contract, you get so much after 5 years. You left a month before. Well, he knew what he was doing. But it left a bit of taste in me. I had to get the car back, and I thought, I wasn't the only one, don't get me wrong. It wasn't just me. There was 1 or 2 as well, like, you know. So it left a bit of taste, and I'm thinking that, you know, another 3 or 4 years there could have been a couple of trouble. And then we get moved on for all these great young players. That's part of football, sport, any professional sport. You always get someone who's better than you, younger than you, another 10 years, so you move on. But thank you very much for appreciated it.
You also made a couple of international globe-trotting tours. Tampa Bay Rowdies, Seiko.
No, I was at West Brom as a manager, and a manager came up to one guy, I won't mention it, he said, I want you to kick the ball in the corner. I said, well, hang on. The game had changed, and it was getting to like a Wimbledon where it was like put the ball in the box so we could smash people. It's not my cup of game now. It's not mine's about football. She said, kick the ball in the corner, and we've got 2 lads up front who are big and strong. They'll smash everybody, and we'll get throw-ins. And I said, but if I'm kicking the ball in the corner, it means we're giving the ball away, and that's not my game. You know what I mean? I want to do it. He said, well, if you don't do it, you're not playing. I said, well, I don't want to play then. It's not my trouble. And I said, I had a chance to travel for 3 or 4 years, and won everything in Hong Kong. Went to Holland, got the Dutch Cup final, got voted the best foreign player at the time in Holland. So I had a really Hong Kong. America didn't work out because I had problems with my visa. But the other places, like I went to Malta, I went all over the place. Yeah, I loved it. I really, because there wasn't a lot of money in English football then. And, I made a decent, I didn't make a lot, but it's given me 4 or 5 years of great memories, and you can't take that away from you. And the football in England at the time was terrible. It was a terrible standard, and, it was just about a physical game. And to me, I'm afraid that's not my type of game.
All right, Tony, I'm going to initiate a hard press on you here. So now rapid fire questions at you. And so as the ball comes to you out wide left against Bayern Munich like that, you got to think quick and give me the first answer that you can think of, okay?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
How do you spell bollocks?
Apart from Miss Iceland, the most famous person you've met in your career?
Dude, wrote me a letter. Phil Collins wrote me a letter. Phil Collins.
Did he?
Yeah, he wrote a letter, yeah. When I got left out of the 82 World Cup, and I've still got it at home, he wrote me a nice letter. Just keep your head up and keep going, Yeah.
Nastiest training ground bust-up you've ever seen?
It was Carlton Palmer and a fella called Mickey Lewis, his name was. Unfortunately, he's died, Mickey, a few years ago. Them 2 hated each other. 2 black country kids. One was a black country. Mickey was sort of down to earth. Carlton was a very arrogant little... And they hated each other, but he used to love it. You always put him on the opposite sides. It's going to be a ding-dong every training session,
Best practical joke you were part of on somebody else?
Maybe Eamon Dacey. Maybe Eamon Dacey just doesn't drink. When he's a great lad, maybe take him out to New Year's Eve and said it was only sort of like a shandy when it was sangria. He said he doesn't drink, but he had 2 big jars of it, you know what I mean? And he went missing for 2 days, nobody knew where he was. And he went in this one end of the car park, which you drive around the back, and when he come out, we left him. He went out the front door and he didn't know where he was, and he ended up booking himself in an hotel,
I shouldn't laugh about that.
No, it was good lad.
Transfer rumor involving you that you are grateful did not happen.
I could have gone to Everton. And they had a terrible time. And I think I would have found that hard, wasn't it, really, because it was my team, and all my family used to go there, and they had a struggling time. As it happened, they went and won everything, but it wasn't, at the time, they were struggling badly. Like, you know, I thought, I hesitated, like, you know, I shouldn't have done really, I should have went there, but as it worked out, you know, they won everything, and I get nothing at West Brom. But no, it's you make the choice, and that's it, you know.
What was the last thing you said ever to Doug Ellis?